Welcome to Nonprofit Stories, inspiring tales from Silicon Valley. We will explore the transformative work of nonprofit organizations and leaders who are changing our community by tackling some of the most pressing issues facing Silicon Valley. So without further ado, let's dive into this exciting conversation. Today, we welcome Terrance Hunter, the president, director, and founder of Empowering the Fatherless of Silicon Valley. Their mission is to empower the fatherless and at-risk youth by equipping them with life and living skills so they may reap the benefits of living well-rounded and fulfilling lives. U.S. has the world's highest rate, 25%, of children living in single-parent households. The poverty rate for female-headed households with no spouse present is 24.7%, compared to 6.8% for married couple households. The cost of fatherlessness to society is estimated to be $112 billion per year. Before we dive into the conversation, let's learn a little about the organization's great work so far.
My name is Terrance Hunter, and I'm the president and founder of Empowering the Fatherless, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I established Empowering the Fatherless for many reasons. First, we want to shut down the school-to-prison pipeline. We are providing youth with tools and skills that enable them to make better choices, which improves the quality of their lives. We also are combating the current crisis in America, in which more than 25 million kids are residing in father-absent homes or homes in which the father is not proactively involved in their lives. Through our efforts, we are challenging men to be more involved, responsible, and committed fathers. Thank you.
Thank you, Terrance, for joining us today.
And thank you for inviting me.
Please tell us about the history of your organization and how did it all begin?
Sure. Sherrod, during my 30-year period of confinement, at a certain point, I decided to embark upon a journey of self-improvement by completing certain self-help programs. These programs addressed the underlying causes that led to my incarceration. After I completed these programs, I decided to become a facilitator and facilitate the programs that I completed. I became a facilitator because I wanted to help my fellow prisoners address and overcome the causes of their dysfunctional behavior.
Right.
So in 2019, 5 years after my release from prison, I established Empowering the Fatherless, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. This organization affords me the opportunity to use my facilitation skills to help at-risk youth and men in need of fatherhood skills. My intent is to equip men with fatherhood and relationship skills and shut down Santa Clara County's school-to-prison pipeline by equipping youth with valuable and empowering life skills.
That's very interesting. And what is your personal passion behind serving this organization?
Well, Sherrod, I'm the product of a father-absent home. To this day, I still do not know the identity of my biological father. When I was a young boy, I was very sad and disappointed that I was a fatherless child. However, as I observed the relationships my childhood friends shared with their fathers, I became angry, bitter, and very resentful. I could not understand why I didn't have a involved, committed, and responsible father in my life. You have no idea how gratifying it is for me today to be able to have every day an opportunity to let young people know how valuable they are in spite of an absent and uninvolved father. So my passion comes from my desire to help kids that may be going through the same thing I was going through when I was young by my father's absence.
That's interesting. And how many kids do you have, Terrance?
Well, it's counting. So probably right now, I'm probably have contact with maybe a total of about 100 kids on a regular basis.
Wow, okay.
And so, unfortunately, I never had kids of my own. And my wife tells me all the time, you have lots of kids. And that's the way I feel. I feel the kids that go through my programs, they truly are my kids.
Absolutely. And can you share a transformational experience you have had which involved your organization?
Well, there are many.
Share many.
But I think one that really sticks out is I was teaching a group of kids my self-esteem and self-compassion class. And after I'd finished teaching these 15-year-olds my class, one kid came up to me, a young lady, and I think she was 15 years old, and she showed me her phone, and she showed me the picture of a young boy. And he was in a baseball uniform, and she knew that I played baseball when I was a kid because I showed her photos. And I asked her, was that a current photo of her brother in this baseball uniform, or is this a picture of him when he was younger? She said, yeah, that's him when he was younger. And then she flipped her phone and showed me her brother at the age of 18. And she said, do you know where my brother is currently? And I said, no. She said, my brother's in the county jail facing murder charges.
Wow.
And then she flipped the phone once more and showed me a picture of her cousin, and she told me that her cousin is also in the county jail. The two of them were facing murder charges. And you know, the look on the girl's face was disheartening, but it really made me feel good that she trusted me enough to tell me something that I'm sure she doesn't tell everybody.
Right.
And so that's what happens with me and these kids. We bond in a way that there's a sense of trust, and they quite often confide in me in personal matters, and it just gives me a really good feeling inside, because when I was a kid, I couldn't talk to anybody about the things that were taking place with me. Like, for example, I never told anyone how I felt about not having a dad. And so it's really a good thing to be able to take something that was a negative and turn it into a positive, to where I'm helping kids that otherwise may go down the same path that I went down.
That's so inspiring. Any other story you'd like to share?
In terms of transformation?
Right.
Yes, I just recently attended a graduation ceremony that I was invited to because of my organization. And they were young men in Gilroy, California, who are engaging in gang activity.
Oh, okay.
And this organization called Carry the Vision had a summer program where they're teaching the kids business and life skills, and they invited me to be a part of it. And so yesterday I was able to attend the graduation ceremony and see the transformation in those boys in terms of how they came into the program and then how they exited the program. And you could see the changes that were made in their lives, because Carry the Vision and all of us who were involved made them feel loved and cared about, and just gave them a different viewpoint of themselves and the world in general. So every time I experience these type of things, it's just so rewarding, because you know, my life has had a rocky past, and today I wake up every morning enthusiastic and eager about going out and trying to make a difference in my community. And something else that really made me feel good about where I'm at today, in October of last year, the Morgan Hill Community Foundation recognized me as a philanthropist and a volunteer that's making an impact in the community. So all of this has transformed me into the person I am today, and I would not give anything for the life I've had, in spite of how difficult it was at certain times, because I really like the person I am today. I can look in the mirror and actually say I like that person that's looking back at me.
That's very inspiring, Terrance. And what are some difficulties your organization face, and how do you and your team overcome them?
One of the major difficulties we're facing, Sharad, is attracting and retaining quality volunteers and mentors. Quite often, people who become aware of what I'm doing and what Empowering the Fatherless is doing, they commend us, and they say they really appreciate and respect what we're doing. And they will often end the conversation with, I will help you in any way I can.
Right.
And you know, the thing about it, when you're employed or you're attending college or you have other commitments, there's very little time to offer your volunteer services. San Jose State University has deemed my organization as a learning site for their students. So students at San Jose State University who volunteer from my organization, they actually receive college credits. I turn in timesheets. Unfortunately, I just lost two of my best volunteers because they're now working on their internships, and they don't have the time to do the volunteer work. So one of the big challenges for us is finding people who have the time and also the passion to want to do what we're doing in terms of helping people. And from my own experience, what I'm learning is while a lot of people like the idea of volunteering and helping in the community and doing things for youth and incarcerated men who are in need of skills that will enable them to return to society, law-abiding citizens, while many people like the idea of doing that, I find that most people aren't willing to make the sacrifices that are involved.
Sure.
Except those of us who really are committed to doing whatever we can to make a difference in the community. And so I'm hoping in the future I will be able to compensate my volunteers to where they're not volunteers but they're paid employees, and I think I will get a better committed core of people if it becomes a job more so than just volunteer work, because we all know that if someone's just simply volunteering and something comes up, it's easy to say, sorry, Terrance, I can't make it. I have a situation. But if you're paying, if you're compensating them, then that's a different story. One of the other difficulties we're experiencing right now, we have a desire to find a building that we can convert into an Empowering the Fatherless Youth Community and Learning Center.
I see.
You see, as it is right now, kids participating in my programs, they either have to be in the Silicon Valley Boys and Girls Club or a school that we're currently offering our services. The thing about schools, they do not like kids missing classes. So it's very difficult to bring your programs into the school, except in 2 schools in Morgan Hill where they have what they call a tutorial, which gives the student an option to go to study hall or come to my programs. So you don't get a consistent flow of students because sometimes the students go to study hall, sometimes they come to my class. And so what we would like to do is establish an Empowering the Fatherless Youth Learning and Community Center where the kids could be involved in our after-school programs. And hopefully we'll have vans where we could pick the kids up and then bring them to the center and then take them home afterwards. In our center, we would offer live living skills program classes and also use virtual technology to also educate the kids while we're there. But instead of just making it a place where kids come to learn, we also want to be a happy place to come where they can shoot pool, play ping pong, you know, possibly have a basketball court there. So we have this vision of this club coming into existence, and not only just the one that we're trying to acquire, but eventually we want to have these centers located all over the place where kids everywhere can participate. So that's a difficulty right now that we're working on, but hopefully this is something we'll eventually figure out.
A typical problem homeowners have when wanting to buy a new home is whether to sell first or buy first. Either way is risky. When ready to look for a new home, TradeMyHome.com, powered by Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, offers an upfront guaranteed cash offer on your current home. Are you moving in the next 3 to 6 months? Text PAIR to 408-740-7400 for a free and no obligation professional equity appraisal report, exclusively for Nonprofit Stories podcast viewers. For more information, visit TradeMyHome.com or call 408-740-7400. Remember, at TradeMyHome.com, your home is sold guaranteed or we'll buy it.
And can you share an example of a networking or collaboration which you guys do and that has helped your organization?
Oh yes, I can definitely speak to that. Empowering the Fatherless is currently collaborating with the San Jose Youth Empowerment Alliance, and we're also collaborating with the South County Youth Task Force. And you have no idea how rewarding it is to be working with city and county officials and community and faith-based organizations who are genuinely concerned about the well-being of kids. In both the San Jose Youth Empowerment Alliance and the South County Youth Task Force, we all meet once a month, and this is a conglomerate of nonprofit organizations where we sit down and talk about what's going on in the community. We also have law enforcement people there who tell us about the crimes taking place in Santa Clara County so that we know the needs. We also have city officials who come there and make us aware of where they could use our services. In other words, They know the various services we offer, and they will come there and say, well, can some of you address this crisis we have going on in this community? Or can some of you take part in establishing certain things? Or during the summer, there was all sorts of
Right.
summertime events for kids. And
Right.
so at these meetings, they ask us to participate in these events. And so it's just a very rewarding thing to come together with like-minded people.
Right. That's very important.
Who are constantly making sacrifices and going above the call of duty to do what's necessary to make our communities a better place. And I think that's what it's all about. When you look at the behavior of a lot of the young people out there, it's because they don't have a sense of community. They don't have a sense of belonging. And so adults have difficulty understanding why these kids behave the way they do, but I don't, because I can clearly see why that's the case. In addition to us collaborating with these people, recently I started working with an organization called Carry the Vision that's based in Gilroy, California.
Okay.
Carry the Vision and Empowering the Fatherless, we share a passion for making a difference in the lives of youth. And I'm very convinced that working with this organization in the very near future will bear fruit that will demonstrate what happens when two organizations come together
Right.
and use our various resources for a common goal.
That's very inspiring. And how do you envision the growth of your organization?
Well, right now we're very optimistic because I recently interviewed 4 individuals who have expressed their desire to want to be volunteers. Fortunately for us, all of these individuals actually have the time. And so I'm setting up a workshop where I'll be training them pretty soon. I have a Empowering the Fatherless Facilitator manual that everyone who comes in as a volunteer must go through so that they understand the standard we have set in terms of the people we bring into the organization. If we were just wanting to expand for the sake of expanding, we could have brought all sorts of volunteers into the organization by now, but we're very selective. We're very selective about the people that come in. All 4 of these individuals have already filled out a live scan application where their fingerprints will be taken and submitted to the Department of Justice. This is a requirement. And once I train these 4 individuals, they have already made a commitment to go into the jail where I go, to go into the reentry center in San Jose, and to go into the various schools and girls and boys clubs that we're currently providing services. So when these people come on board, it's definitely going to make it possible for us to expand our presence in the community and offer our services in a broader aspect. We're also optimistic right now because there's an aggressive procedure underway where there's some people trying to help us get the building that we need to expand our Empowering the Fatherless base by creating a center. And these people are connected with the community. They know people in the real estate industry. And we came together the other day in a meeting, and they assured me they're going to do everything in their power to get us a building. I also spoke to the mayor of Morgan Hill, Mark Turner, recently, and City Councilman Tom Klein of Gilroy, and made them aware of my desire to get a building to establish a place where kids can come that is safe and it allows them to engage in ETF's living skills programs.
Right.
So we're very optimistic about those things, and I'm also optimistic about my connection with Carry the Vision now. Like I said, we have common interests. I've met with them several times, and I've been involved in events that they're involved in currently, but I would also like to say, are you familiar with Father Boyle and his organization called Homeboy Industries?
Probably not yet.
It's in Los Angeles, and this is an organization that Father Boyle started in a community in Los Angeles 30 years ago called Homeboy Industries with the intent of giving gang members valuable, working skills so they could gain employment. He does things like removes tattoos that they no longer want to have. Well, since establishing Homeboy Industries, Father Boyle has created what is now known as the Global Homeboy Network, in which he's partnering with 400 organizations worldwide. Well, this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, he's hosting a Global Homeboy Network conference in Los Angeles. And Carry the Vision, the organization I just made you aware of, is paying for my airfare, my room, my food expenses, and my time to go to this event. Because at this event, they're going to have several workshops over that 3-day period that's going to give information on how he was able to build this global network. And I'm going to come back with this information and bring it to this organization, and we're going to see if we can establish the same type of services here in Northern California. So I'm very optimistic about the growth that's getting ready to take place, because there's all sorts of movement that's going to manifest in the very near future.
Right. And what key lessons and strategies have played a vital role in the success of your organization?
Sherrod, I think nonprofits should always remain focused on their mission. You know, quite often things may not develop as quickly as you like, or things go wrong. And at those times, it's very easy to lose track of what your original intention was. So I would tell all nonprofits, remain focused on your mission. Second, I would always tell them to never compromise their integrity. Along the way, you're going to have people that might want to donate money, might want to give you resources and other things that might seem attractive, but you have to make sure there's no strings attached to those type of contributions. Because sometimes you have people that have ulterior motive where they want to do things for you and then later have a say in the direction your organization goes.
Right.
And so just be sure that you never compromise your integrity. Another thing I would say is to place value on long-term goals rather than short-sighted gains.
Sure.
You know, in other words, if I have long-term goals that I'm trying to reach, it's not beneficial for me to engage in activities or do things that's going to short-stop me reaching those long-term goals.
Right.
So that's the advice I would give nonprofit organizations.
Worried about the dilemma of selling first or buying first? TradeMyHome.com, powered by Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, has the solution. With our guaranteed 24-hour cash offers, you won't risk owning 2 homes or being homeless. You can buy first and sell later. Are you upgrading or downgrading in the next 3 to 6 months? Text PAIR to 408-740-7400 for a free and no obligation professional equity appraisal report. Exclusively for Nonprofit Stories podcast viewers. For more information, visit TradeMyHome.com or call 408-740-7400. Remember, at TradeMyHome.com, your home is sold guaranteed or we'll buy it.
What advice will you give to the victims of fatherlessness?
Okay, well, here's the advice I would give to them. I made the major mistake of never talking about how I felt about not having a father. And therefore, I stuffed those emotions to where eventually those emotions went somewhere and caused me to take the life of a person because of all that internal anger. So when I talk to young people, what I try to tell them, especially in the schools and the boys club, they're surrounded by people who really care about them. And I advise them it would really be to their advantage to take advantage of these people who you trust and go to them and tell them whatever's bothering you, whether it's problems at home or whether it's just feeling, abandoned. Go and talk about these things, because if you don't talk about these things, then they're just going to ruin your life and distract you from being the person you're capable of being. So when I think about parents that might have kids that could benefit from living skill programs, I strongly encourage them to contact me or maybe some other local agency where those kids can acquire skills that will impact the rest of their lives. As far as men who lack fathering skills and desire to gain those sort of skills and skills that would enable them to have a better relationship with the mother of their children, because that's also important. You know, when you have kids where they know there's bad blood between their mother and father, that really doesn't serve a purpose, to see them arguing and fighting.
And kids suffer in that.
Exactly. And so the men that are in need of fatherhood and relationship skills, the ones that are incarcerated, I would strongly suggest our Inside Out Dad program. Mm-hmm. And as far as men in the community who desire to become better dads and have a better understanding of what are healthy relationships as opposed to unhealthy relationships, I would recommend our 24/7 Dad program to them.
How does it work?
The 24/7 Dad program is a 14-week program.
Okay.
and the men engage in weekly 1-hour meetings. And this is a program where, first of all, we cover the basics. Like, for example, it's impossible for you to be a good father if not first you're a good man.
Sure.
You have to be a good man before you can be a father. A good father, you have to be a good man before you can be a good husband or partner to your woman. So we cover the basics in terms of things that most people who are incarcerated never even experience. See, when you look at most people that serve time, we are what you call, we have antisocial behavior. And if you didn't have antisocial behavior, you wouldn't be able to commit the crimes that you commit against people and in your community. So we have to first address that antisocial thinking and conduct and replace it with social skills. So quite often what we do is we take 12 men in the program, because we like to keep it at a certain number, where each man will receive a certain amount of attention. And what you do is you get these 12 men to bond, and then they learn from each other. You know, it's interaction taking place in the classroom where it's just not me telling them, you know, my opinion or the opinion of the books. Because quite often what you have is men in there who are pretty good fathers, but could be better fathers.
Right.
And so there's all sorts of exercises that we do. There's all sorts of role playing that takes place in the room, to where we're working on them in ways that they don't even understand.
Right.
It's subliminal.
Right.
But by the end of the 12-week, 14-week program, they have a better understanding of what it means to be a man, because that's where I went wrong in life. I left home at the age of 15, where I had a structured environment. My mother had my siblings and I going to church 2 to 3 times a week. I was a well-behaved kid. I had paper routes. I went to school. I did my homework. And then I left home out of anger at 15, stopped going to church, stopped reading the Bible, stopped being around my family, and I started hanging around older men who became my mentors, and they taught me what their idea of a man was, which was basically a man doesn't take crap off of anyone, and these were violent men.
Right.
So in my program, the 24/7 Dad program, we redefine what it means to be a man. A man is responsible, a man takes care of his family, a man is a pillar of his community. And so when we introduce these concepts to these men, they know that the behavior they've been exuding hasn't been working. What's going on in their life currently isn't working, or they wouldn't be confined. And then as far as men in the community, quite often they're getting arrested for domestic violence and all sorts of, you know, dysfunctional behavior. So men are open to this information. And I'm strongly convinced that when you look at people who behave badly, they behave badly because of the bad information they've received.
Right.
If you replace that bad information with good information, generally you will get different conduct. And so something I say to the men all the time is you really can't fault a person for behaving badly out of ignorance. But then once you acquire certain information, I think it's impossible for you to go back to the person you used to be. It's like myself, for example, all the self-help groups I've taken, all the information that I've acquired, there's no way that I could go back being that person I was in 1985 when I committed that horrible act. So I'm a strong person who believes in information and substituting bad information with good information, because as a IT specialist, you know that garbage in means garbage out.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, let's take, for example, our curriculum. It's a wide range of programs that we think will work on the person, not just in one area. For example, we have a values and responsibility course. We have a self-esteem and self-compassion course. We have a making decision class. We have a managing money class. We have a communication class. We have courses that are entitled what teens should know about nicotine and vaping, what teens should know about opioids, what teens should know about marijuana, what teens should know about methamphetamines.
Right.
And so we just have a host of classes that really impact not only kids, but even adults in a major way. And you were talking about a transforming moment earlier, and something happened recently in my self-esteem class, and it was a high school student. And we were going over an exercise in which they were told to read certain statements and indicate whether or not that was taking place in their home. And this kid was this kid is 17-year-old. So the other kids was doing it silently, but this young man, he chose to do it audibly.
Okay.
So he would read the statement, I am important, no. My opinion matters, no. I can do anything, no. I am special, no. All the positive affirmations that were in that exercise, he says, none of them were taking place in his home. And then he turned to me after he completed the exercise. He says, Mr. Hunter, I really wish I had this program years earlier.
Right.
And I said, you wish you had it years early because you would feel differently about yourself, right? He said, yes. I said, so you come to understand through this exercise that the reason you feel the way you do, as far as lacking confidence, not challenging yourself, and all the other things that are preventing you from living your life in a positive and effective way, you realize it's directly related to what was taking place in the home.
Right.
And so I said, what you don't understand is you don't have to feel bad that you didn't take this class earlier because you're only 17. I said, do you know there's adults in their 40s, 50s, 60s that are still walking around where they're allowing childhood trauma to influence their lives?
Right.
And so you're ahead of the curve, and that's what I told him. But you don't know what it meant to me, Sherrod, to hear him say, I wish I had taken this class earlier, because he realized the value of these classes we're offering him and how it's going to affect and influence how he views himself and how he views the world and how he lives his life. So that was a very transformative. My wife was there at the time, and we both just looked at each other, and without saying a word, we both felt the same thing. We really felt we were doing a good thing, and this boy valued it. And it's just like being in the jail where I work with the offenders who are serving time. You would be surprised at how they, at the end of every class, they come up to me and say, Terrance, we appreciate you. Terrance, God bless you. Terrance, we value you. And they mean it, because in most cases, these men for the first time are attending these type of enlightening classes.
Right. That's so inspiring. Thank you so much, Terrance, for talking to us today. And we wish you good luck in whatever you do. And let's stay in touch.
And thanks so much for having me, and I will keep in touch.
It's time for our trivia question to win prizes. This section is hosted by our AI host, Kay.
Hi, this is Kay from TradeMyHome.com, powered by Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Your home sold guaranteed, or we'll buy it. Here is our NPS trivia question. This nonprofit organization, founded by Adam Braun, has built over 500 schools in developing countries. And your options are: Pencils of Promise, Room to Read, or Build On. Winners will get a $25 Amazon gift card and recognition in our next episode. Submit your entry on our website, trademyhome.com/NPS, or by scanning the QR code on the screen. Only the top 3 correct entries will win.
Thank you for listening to the podcast and acknowledging the impactful work of nonprofits in Silicon Valley. Please subscribe and share this episode with a friend. Thank you to our sponsor, TradeMyHome.com, for their community commitment and for making this podcast possible. Until next time, remember to support local nonprofits.